Hi, I'm Micah Clark with the American Family Association. Thank you for joining us today. As you know from my email earlier this week, we're in the halfway point in the Indiana General Assembly. Now what that means is bills take a three-step process to pass the chamber. The committee process where you have a public hearing, the floor amendment, which we call second reading, and then the final vote, which is called third reading. A bill has to make it through all three of those steps to be alive. So of the 700 to 900 bills that were filed, there's only a few hundred that have made it through that process now. So this is a critical point in the session process. All bills that are live that receive those three steps are now in the opposite chamber. So when I talk about a Senate bill, it's in the House. I talk about a House bill, it's in the Senate now. So I want to talk about three bills today. Two of them are Senate bills, so that means they're in the House, so you'll want to call your state representatives about Senate bills. And then one House bill is going to the Senate, so you'll want to call your senator about the House bill. Now, a couple things I want to talk about. They are not in session this week. They ended on Tuesday with final votes, so they were not in session Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. They are starting committee hearings, the first step process, next week. We expect several bills. We have at least 8 or 9 that we're watching, that we're supporting. But I just want to mention 3 today, 3 of the bigger ones that I've mentioned before. But it's important to know what's happened with these 3 bills. The first bill I've mentioned before is Senate Bill 17. It passed fairly early in the session. But Senate Bill 17 is an age verification bill that requires pornographic websites to verify the age of its viewers. So a child cannot log into a pornographic website if they're under the age of 18 or 21. I think it's 18. It's a way to protect children in the bill, and it passed with only 1 no vote, 44-1 passed the Senate. That bill is now going to the House, and we will see what the House will do with it. I expect it to pass, but nothing is ever guaranteed. So it would not hurt if you called your state representative in the Indiana House about Senate Bill 17 and the important bill that is. Several states have passed a bill like this: Louisiana, Utah, Texas, Mississippi, I think Tennessee. Several of them are in place. A couple of them have some court challenges, as you could expect. Anytime our legislature does something positive, it seems like somebody wants to sue over it. But many states are moving in this direction, and so it's a very important bill to try and protect children from harmful content. So that's Senate Bill 17. The next bill I want to mention, I've mentioned before, is Senate Bill 128. This is a bill regarding education and human sexuality instruction, or sex education. This bill passed on Tuesday after some intense debate. It passed, unlike Senate Bill 17, it passed on a party line vote. All 10 Democrats in the Senate voted no on Senate Bill 128. Now what that bill requires is it requires that any material taught on sex education in a school be approved by the school board. Now why would we want to do that? Because the school board is elected. That means they're accountable to voters. If they pass something, if they approve something highly controversial in sex education, they're accountable to the voters. And so elected officials tend to want to stay within the guardrails, not too far left, not too far right. Sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. But I think in this case, it's very good because these are local people who are very close to their voters, and they don't want to be going to the grocery store hearing about complaints from parents that they see who are voters and constituents about something radical that they've supported or approved for the school. So I think it is a transparency bill in that regard. But the other part of the bill that's very important is it requires that whatever the school board approve on sex education, if anything, it's not required, but if something's to be taught, if it's not approved, it can't be brought into the school, so it has to be vetted. The second thing is it's not done behind closed doors. It's done at a public meeting, and then those public officials are held accountable at the ballot box. But the other thing is, what is approved, a description of that must be posted on the school website so parents can see it. Now, it was very interesting to watch the debate over this on Tuesday when they voted on it. The debate was rather intense. The author of this bill, Senator Byrne, has been a school board member for 8 years, so he was very good at defending this bill, the importance of this bill, and how it's necessary and how it would help parents. But the opponents I'll just be honest. If you just looked at this debate, it looked like a lot of them want to hide things from parents. They really don't want this public scrutiny for parents to see what's being taught in sex education. One of the strangest things I saw was a senator ask about Senate Bill 17 that I just mentioned, an age verification, and she actually asked the bill author, do we need age verification for people to view this sex education material on the school website? Well, if you need age verification for what's being taught in school, it shouldn't be taught in school because those kids are under 18. So it was kind of a ridiculous question, but I think what the left fears is a lot of things in school they worry that public officials are not going to approve of and parents are not going to approve of if they find out what's in some schools, not all schools. But this kind of, they don't want the light shown on what's being taught, it would appear. So, and they made these arguments, well, a parent can talk to a teacher now. Yeah, but the parent has to take off work, has to go do that. And oftentimes they'll be told, well, you're the only person who's ever complained about this, which isn't always true. So I think this is a good bill. That's Senate Bill 128. It should be heard in the House Education Committee next week or the week after. So that's Senate Bill 128, now in the Indiana House. Now, the one House bill I want to mention today, which means it's in the Senate, is House Bill 1137. Now, this bill passed 92-4, and I think it will go through the Senate, but you never know. But it's going to the Education Committee, and that is House Bill 1137. This bill simply clarifies case ruling or court ruling on release time for students. Now, what this means is, under current case law and Indiana law, a school can allow a student to be released for religious instruction. And that's been something courts have upheld for decades. Even the U.S. Supreme Court said students have the right to have release time and go to private religious instruction if it's not on the school property, if it's voluntary, if the parents know about it, and it's not funded by the state. So there are programs like this. You've heard of Good News Bible Clubs. Maybe you've heard of LifeWise, who we've interviewed on here. That's what this bill is about. But the problem arose, we found out, with some programs where a principal or superintendent was not allowing a student because our law said a principal or school may allow this, and many states say a school shall allow it. So this changes one word from may to shall, saying the school shall allow this if a student requests it, rather than if a student requests it, the principal or superintendent can say no. They have to say yes if the student wants to do this. And it's limited. A student can't take the whole day off and just say, I'm going to religious instruction, I'm not doing algebra today. These are often classes that take place during study hall or free time. It doesn't interact or interrupt with academic instruction. So, and again, it's all voluntary if the student wants to do this. Again, that's why this bill passed, I think, so easily, is because it's really where the law stands. So it's bringing our state law into what the courts have said and what many other states have done, where schools shall do this rather than giving them the power to overrule it. So that's House Bill 1137. Will be before the Senate Education Committee soon. So if you like that idea and want to call your state senator, you can do that about House Bill 1137. And you can call your state representative about Senate Bill 17, which is age verification for minors and adult websites, or Senate Bill 128, which is a educational transparency bill requiring these things to be brought into public view by an elected school board regarding human sexuality. Also requires parents to be able to see that material or descriptions of that material on the school website. So I hope that's clear. Things are going to speed up again for a little while as they begin committee hearings, and we'll be down there to testify on these and other bills, and hopefully be your eyes and ears and your voice for pro-family values in the Indiana General Assembly. Well, I want to thank you for your support of AFA. It means a lot to us. Thank you for your prayers and your financial support. Continue to read our emails on Wednesday as well, because there's a lot more detail in those emails about a variety of issues. But thank you for joining us today. Again, I'm Micah Clark, the Director of the American Family Association of Indiana. Have a great weekend.